2 years ago, I shut down a group offer that I was completely overwhelmed by. I was afraid of client complaints, I thought the offer was broken, and I convinced myself that I should shut it down and sell something different instead. Then one person came along and told me, do not get rid of that offer, bring it back. You are going to hit a six-figure launch with this offer. I'm very glad I listened to that person because since then, that same offer has brought in over $400,000 of revenue in my business in live launches alone, and I have had my first six-figure launch. Today, I'm introducing you to the person who told me that and walking you through exactly what changed to make all this happen. Hey, I'm Ashley. I run Systems Over Stress, where I help coaches and service providers scale without burning out, mostly using Airtable systems. So if you're new here, there are a ton of Airtable resources on this channel that I highly recommend that you check out. And in this episode, I am sitting down with my sales and business coach, Dielle Charon. Dielle has been my coach for the last 2 years. She's the one that told me to bring out my offer. And in this conversation, we go deep in what it's actually like to be a client inside of her mastermind, Everything Scaling. I want to be really honest with you. There are not many things that I would tell you to spend $15,000 on, but Dielle's mastermind is one of them. And if hearing that there's a $15K investment possibility makes you freak out, keep listening. There's a ton of strategy in here. There's still things you can learn, but really I've gotten so many results inside of her program, and I would not be where I am today without Dielle's coaching. In this interview, you're going to get a real behind the scenes look at what it's like to be a client of Dielle's, what it looks like to stick with one coach long term, the emotional arc of retiring an offer, bringing it back, and how that offer went on to generate over $400,000 and have my first six-figure launch. For context, I had my first six-figure launch. It was $130K in October 2025, and I actually did a full launch debrief on that. The link is in the description below, and it is an opt-in because I share like actual Voxer threads that I did with Dielle. There's just like a lot of details that I didn't want to be like on YouTube proper, so you can opt into that and see what it's really like to have a full launch debrief. I like went all into the details there. My hope is that this episode gives you a really honest picture of what it's like to have a business coach in your corner who is detailed, attentive, intuitive, and incredibly smart. I generally don't know another coach who is quite like Dielle. So if you are thinking about hiring a business coach, retiring an offer, questioning your strategy, or wondering what real support looks like when you invest in a mastermind like this, go ahead and watch this episode all the way through. It is so amazing. Drop any questions in the comments and let's dive in. Hi, Dielle. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited about this episode because it's very behind the scenes. My people love the nosy behind the scenes of all of our launches and everything. And really, you've been my business and sales coach for the last 2 years. And so in this conversation, we're just going to kind of talk about the evolution of me, my offers, my mindset, and also what it looks like to be a part of your mastermind. There is literally no other thing that I would tell my clients or tell my audience to spend $15,000 on, or the 5 figures, whatever that is. I'm very cautious of telling people to invest that much money. And I truly believe like you are one of the best business coaches in the industry and it's worth every penny. Before we get into all of the things, can you kick us off by introducing who you are and what you help your clients do?
Sure. Yes, I am a sales coach. I primarily work with women of color, but we're open to everyone. We have about 30% white women. Ashley's a part of that 30% inside of the program, and everybody gets along great. But that's typically how I introduce myself, that I'm a sales coach for women of color. But really, I'm a sales coach for coaches, service providers, experts, consultants, all sorts of people we have inside of the mastermind. I used to be a social worker. I have my MSW, so that impacts a lot of how I view sales, how I view supporting people, my coaching style when I'm helping my six-figure or multiple six-figure earners make really big, important decisions in their business and holding that space. And I love my job. Collectively, our clients have made close to $40 million. And so y'all kill it. And so I love sales. I love helping good people make more sales so that they can help their own community.
Yes, and Dielle also is a part of Systems Over Stress, and a lot of her systems are built off of our Airtable foundation. So the reason she knows she has 40 million in sales is because she tracks them with Airtable, which is awesome and great to see. Okay, let's run it back to, I think that something I contribute a lot of my success to is having the same coach for so many, like for sticking with one coach. We had a sales call. I like looked into my calendar, April 2023. And I was in like a very dramatic state in my business at that time. And I wanted to kind of go back to like the beginning stages of our work together, just so people can see the arc. So I have sold the same group program since like 2021, and you were a client. And before I got the sales call, and I actually, before you were a client of, before I was a client of yours, you were a client of mine, and you sent me an email. I remember I said, my feedback or something like that. And it gave me some like relatively constructive but harsh criticism about the structure of systems over stress at the time. And I was already in a pretty fragile state, I would say. And so I shut down my offer. I shut down my offer. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my business. And I just kept seeing you online, and you had sales calls. And I was like, I think Dielle can help me. I don't know if she hates me, but I think she could help me. And so I got on that sales call. Totally was like, I got rid of the program. Like, I'm not doing that anymore. And you were like, why are you getting rid of systems over stress? And you told me, you're like, no, you need to keep systems over stress. You're going to have a 6-figure launch of that one day. And I was so surprised that you said that after the feedback you had given me. Do you remember that original sales call, and like what made you confident in that prediction, and just like what makes you feel like, oh, I can help this person, I can help my clients get to 6 figures, even if you're like, nah, your offer is a little shaky?
Sure. So that's like the infamous email, right? Like we reference that email
Yes.
all the time. And so you actually responded very kindly to me, where you were saying like, hey, if you were having issues, like we haven't gotten any ticketed support from you, like we didn't even know. And I then went to my OBM who was working with you at the time. I said, did you reach out to Ashley for props? She was like, oh no. And I was like, okay, so you just made me look like an idiot for sending this email over. And so I think that's just important context. And that actually what was sort of my reason for why I said what I said on the sales call, because I think every offer is fixable. That's just like my fundamental belief. I think every offer is fixable. And I know this, like a lot of your clients care about systems work and systems conversation, specifically when it comes to upset clients or clients that aren't getting what they want. 9 times out of 10, there's just a system missing. Something is just unclear, or the client hasn't used it, right? Or something like that. But rarely do we throw something away. I think us coaches, service providers, experts, we have such big hearts. We care. We're also typically highly sensitive, ADHD, on the spectrum in some sense or fashion. I'm all three. Like I'm extremely neurodivergent. I'm all three. And we will throw the baby out with the bathwater. We can get very binary and very there's like dichotomous, I think is what it's called, where it's like one or two and that's it. When I think one of my strengths as a coach is finding the gray and finding the nuance or finding the pocket. To often, like when I'm coaching a 6-figure earner, a multiple 6-figure earner, they're like, my launch is going down. I need to shut down this offer, or I got a client complaint. This offer has to go. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Tell me exactly what they said. Whoa, 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 whoa. Tell me exactly how you ended your webinar. Whoa, 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 whoa. Tell me exactly when the sales started to dip. Oh, day 3 of your launch, maybe it was because of X. I feel like that's kind of my superpower, where I can kind of isolate the incident. And it's typically something very, very, very small. I had a client come on my call recently, and she was thinking about changing a very key pivotal point of her messaging. And I said, why are you trying to change this point? She said, well, some of my cold leads are saying I contradict myself on my messaging. I said, what if you just put a disclaimer in your Instagram bio? She was like, what? I was like, yeah, why don't we just need to get a little cheeky and like put a disclaimer in your Instagram bio? She was like, oh. I was like, yeah, that sounds like they just sounds like they just need some language and some context. She was like, oh, I did it. I was like, yeah. And so like it can be that simple. And I found with systems over stress, number one, it's a brilliant fresh offer. I love me a unique offer, something that's different. I don't think anybody has something like systems over stress. And I know you and Kirsten Roldan really put that offer together. And so I think it's such a fresh, very unique offer in the done for you space. In the service provider space, you typically have to hire a one-on-one consultant, or you have to DIY it completely with a template. And I felt like it was such a unique offer. It was fresh in between. So I think that's the reason why I said, hey, we got to keep this. And number two, especially because of the nature of the offer, you're bound to have customer service issues. And my thought was, probably not the only one, in a good way, meaning like it's not you. It's just the nature of the offer. It's the nature of the work. That's definitely not a reason to throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah, and I think that I've watched you coach so many people on our coaching calls together, but just in my own experience, you have caught me so many times from making a drastic decision in my business that would have totally affected my revenue, would have gone down a rabbit hole that I didn't need to go down. And that skill set that you have of just being like, hey, but what if you didn't do that? Or like, what if like your strategy brain around sales and offers and just the way that you can see someone spiraling and pull them out of that. I have been such a benefit of that, and I've seen your clients be a huge benefit of that too. And I think it's such a amazing thing for, I think, so many of our clients, and I'm going to go on a little tangent, but I know you have something to say about this, is that especially neurodivergent people love to hop around. They love to hop around with offers. They love to hop around with coaches. And I have found that by sticking with you and by sticking with this one offer, that's how I've gotten this success. I can't believe I've only been in your orbit for 2 years. It feels like we've known each other forever now, but it really hasn't been super long. And I've seen people leave coaching containers or abandon offers, and their growth has kind of stalled. What's your take on that, of coach hopping, of offer hopping? Maybe you have different perspectives on each, but curious what you have to say about that.
Sure. Let's talk about coach hopping. Actually, let's talk about offers first. That'll ease them in, and then we'll talk about coach hopping. So with offers, so we see so many different ways of scaling in the industry. We see so many different paths to success. I was just talking to another client who's making $1 million and she's trying to go to 5 million. And I was telling her, I'm like, you can do the high ticket one offer 10K route and you have sales call closers. You can do the low ticket course route. You get like, and I could see her brain breaking, being like, oh, there's so many paths. And it's like, yeah, there are so many paths. And so that's great about the online industry is we really get to flex our creativity. But what we don't realize is, and one of my own mentors has said this, and I kind of have a little bit of a different take on it, but the principle still stays the same of one offer is actually a business within itself. And so we act like we're just going from apples to oranges, but you're really going from apples to McDonald's. Like it's a completely different thing. And then I just actually introduced a new offer for the first time in 5 years, my membership. And I forgot what it's like to create an entirely new offer, new messaging, new positioning, new scalability, systems on the back end, team delivery, curriculum, client success, client management, roles, culture, vibe. I got to vibe check the offer to be like, what's the vibe in here? I just listed 10, 12 things. And so when you're changing your offer all the time, you're having to make 10, 12 decisions over and over and over again. And that's if you want to do the offer right. Like you could just throw up an offer just to make, I don't know, 4 or 5K, whoop-de-doo, you got a cash injection. But if you wanted to have an offer that helps you make multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, you have to think about all those things thoroughly. So when you offer hop, like you just have to reinvent the wheel. And then your brain is spent doing that so much, you can't do anything else. You can't go on a podcast tour and get more visibility. You can't go and double your leads and double your audiences. You can't think of a killer webinar title because you're so focused on those 10 or 12 things. So then when you finally do go to sell, your sales are down because you focus on the wrong thing and you abandon your audience, you abandon your community. So I simply like having one offer so I can focus on my content, focus on my lead generation, focus on getting my clients better results. And then the whole ecosystem can work without me. I'm just strengthening up one thing versus halfway building multiple things. What are your thoughts?
I think my thoughts are, I've seen that happen I've seen the positive effects of that in my business. I'm just thinking about all of my audience who are neurodivergent and they're like, but I get bored. So yeah, tell me about that.
Sure, yeah, same. Like I'm a wild creative. Like I have a dance background. Like I do live events, these extravagant live events. Like I get it. I definitely am multi-passionate, 100%. You would never be able to tell because my business is so clean. But what I say to that is number one, you're bored, but then you're going to be bogged down by work because you have to do those 10, 12 things. And so the idea of, oh, I'm going to do this. This is fun. And then if you're neurodivergent, if you have ADHD like me, then you're like, oh, wait, I have to do the onboarding. I have to do all this. Oh, the motivation is gone. Right. And so then you have reality set in, and then you have a really complex project on your hands of actually getting this offer off the ground. And so what I often say is being multi-passionate in one offer. So for me, my offers are extremely multi-passionate. Here's what we do in 1 year in any of my programs. We'll do an identity series. We'll do a sales challenge. I'll do a sales call clinic. We'll do a lead generation 2-day event where I have guest speakers in coming in about lead generation. I'll do a workshop on time management. You also will get 2 or 3 coaching calls a week. You get to do reviews. You get to do Voxer with me. There's 1,000 things going on, but in this one offer. And so I kind of think about my offer itself as a playground where if I get an idea, I go live. There's a dozen live videos in my program about how I launched my Amazon book and got my Amazon best top seller. If you want, you can learn how to launch a book from me. Like just crazy stuff. How to do a retreat. If you want to know how to do your own treat, that's in there too. Like everything's in there. And so I say you could be multi-passionate, but just in one offer. So I get to do the fun idea part without having to do those 10, 12 really bogged down activities.
Yeah, that's been huge for me. Being able to take that boredom of like, oh, like I should like, let me just having that one container and you're like, you can be prolific in that container, stick with that, be known for that. And something that I love about what you have helped me with my business as well is I will get excited about shifting something to like a marketing thing. Let's say a webinar title because we'll get into it. One of the reasons why I joined working with you because you had a result like if you join this container, you'll have a 6-figure launch. I got there, but I was always wanting to like have a brand new idea for my webinar title. And you're very good at deciding like, hey, you can have a creative outlet somewhere else, but like if that works, let's double down on what's working. And you're always kind of like, it feels like a very safe container to be like, I have this idea. And you're like, cool, could we funnel it into a challenge for your clients? Or could you do a free Instagram series instead of like, no, you don't need to create a whole separate personal brand to launch that podcast that you want. Put it like this literally just happened a couple of weeks ago. You're like, add it as a bonus or all of those things. It's just so helpful to have somebody like you who is neurodivergent and makes multiple millions of dollars. I think that a lot of the times my neurodivergent clients think like, because I have these neurodivergences, I like only like the people that wake up at 5 a.m. and are super rigid and all those things, those are the ones that are successful. And I can't, I'm going to be happy at 6 figures. And if that's okay, like if that's where you want to be, that's okay. But you give so much permission. And it's been very inspiring for me to be in your container and be like, I know what Dielle struggles with. And she doesn't use that as like an excuse to not hit the income goals that you want to hit.
Yeah, to this point of like binary thinking, like all or nothing thinking, you can be very neurodivergent and creative, but also very simple and streamlined. Like the two are not mutually exclusive. And it's just also too when we have an idea as neurodivergent people, I love what you said, like where is the best place for it? So you actually get the dopamine of the result happening. Like me doing, okay, I have this idea on how to create an Amazon book. I'm going to do an entire launch, but it's not put together thoughtfully. It's rushed. I'm tired. And then I don't get the result. That's just going to deflate me versus I'm going to do a live video in my program. My clients are going to be so excited. They're going to think this is the best thing. There's all the dopamine of the chat happening. And then it's done and I could go rest. Right. And they're like, oh, okay, I had that dopamine high in the right place. And so I find that when you simplify your business and when you put all your ideas in one place or you put all your creative ideas in the right places, you get that dopamine that you want. But if you're always funneling it into a new offer, that doesn't happen. It'll actually deflate you and burn you out.
Yeah. I think it's important to, when you're picking a business coach that you're investing in, to be aligned on some, like have some core alignment. So for example, would you say if you have clients who are like, absolutely hard no, I never want to do a sales call, do you think you're the right coach for them? Or like, what are some of the philosophies that you stand by that you're like, I would be a good coach for you? Like let's make sure we're on the same page about these 3 things before me like investing in everything scaling.
Sure. Yes. So I would say if you have some sort of one-on-one or group offer, and you're down to do some aspect of live selling, I would say either sales calls or webinars. If you want to do strictly email, DM, copy, I would say that I'm potentially not the best coach for you. But if you want to do either a sales call or webinar, I'm your girl. And there's no one that teaches sales calls or webinars better than me. Like those are my jam. I absolutely love those two things. So, and obviously like most people fit in those categories. And so other than that, I'm your girl. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's helpful. Let's talk about what is the new, like, what's the promise of everything scaling? I know you've said there's like so much inside of it, but overall, like the result of the mastermind, what will clients get out of joining?
Sure. So, clients will be able to sign 5-figure one-on-one clients and have 6-figure launches. And so
Yeah.
that is the promise of it. And so they've been able to do that a lot of different ways, 5-figure one-on-one clients, or even 5-figure group clients too, if you have a 5-figure mastermind the way that I do, and then having 6-figure launches. And that's of all sorts of offers and all sorts of price points. $997 offers, again, all the way up to $20,000 offers. We've been able to help so many different people. I've helped a business coach in Germany. I've helped a sex coach in French, like just run the art programs, life coaching programs. I just had a client have a very successful launch selling a program called How to Know What You Want. And so like we run the gamut of like offers, health coaching offers. I have a client that had a 90K launch of a weight loss program for a weight loss membership. And so we just run the gamut on all sorts of amazing launches. I love talking about launches. I lit up when I talk about launches. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's talk about my launches because I remember since having a 6-figure launch has always felt like a shiny goal of mine. And that is why I joined in April 2023. I was like, well, she says she can help with launches. That's why I'm going to join. I have my launch numbers. So since April 2023, I've done 6 live launches with you as my coach. My launch in January of that year, so before working with you, was 52K. The first launch with you was 66K. Second one was 61, 71, 82, and then in May of 2025, I hit 130K launch.
Crazy.
So
So
it took
good.
a few launches, and it took a few launches to get there, and I also took a couple re-signs into the mastermind to get there. But I wanted to talk about I want to talk about the resources inside of everything scaling that like helped me get these results, and I want to hear from your perspective, like anything that you want to add.
Sure.
But I feel that I'm like, if you're watching this and you want a 6-figure launch, like the only place to be is inside of this mastermind. I have felt, even when I always hit my goals because you have like an undergoal process. It's not like, okay, you're going to hit your first launch with us is going to be 6 figures. That's not how it's going to go. You really helped me like calm my nerves. I wasn't ready to hit a 6-figure launch when I first joined. And that was like, first I kind of came to Jesus.
Can we sit there for a second? Like there is some back work to hit a 6-figure launch. To this point, sometimes it takes you years, sometimes it takes 6 months. The mastermind now is 12 months because we do want people to have the space and time. We don't want them to feel rushed. And so I think that's an important thing to know. Can you just speak about that? Like, why don't you think you were ready for the first 6-figure launch?
I mean, so I didn't have the systems down. I didn't have the messaging down. I didn't have the belief, honestly. It's like I wanted it, but like you do a lot of identity work and a lot of thought coaching, and I was scared of more people being mad at me as they joined. Like, and I just also didn't have the capacity. Now I'm better at it because of the way that you teach how to do messaging and writing, but I've been figuring out my messaging launch over launch. It's like, okay, this hit, this didn't hit. Let me try this. And I can't tell you how impactful it is to have a coach who is like in the trenches. Like you remember what I did the launch last year, and you're like, I kind of come back to something. You're like, we talked about that last year. Here's why we didn't do it. Like you remember those things, and it is so helpful to have a coach and a coaching team because you have co-coaches as well, and they all know like what's going on with my business. And so I think that's like when I look back, I don't look at those as failed launches because I didn't hit 6 figures. I'm like, every time I set a goal, I hit the goal. And if I didn't hit the goal, you helped me figure out why. And that was so, and when I'm spiraling, like all of those things, like just to have a person, when you are in a launch mode, if you want to do live launches, it is a roller coaster. And to have somebody who is not your business bestie, who like is like gonna complain when you want to complain. Like, it's just like, I don't really talk to my business friends about like, I don't do peer coaching. I get coaching by my coach because like, that's where like the cleanest direct line for me to not spiral. And to have you and the mastermind, I'll talk about even before my launches, you have a concept called the Power 75 and you have messaging tools. And so I figured out my messaging with you and I was able to submit webinars, submit my sales pages through these feedback review processes. And I would love for you to talk about them. They're all built within Airtable systems. So they're really simple for me to just like give you guys my slides, like if, and then you give really detailed feedback on what could, you're a nice person. I'm like, but you give hard feedback. You're like, throw this out. This sucks. This doesn't make sense. Try this. Like I always am sitting there ready to like get torn apart, but in a good way. So tell me about, I'd like the resources inside of the mastermind that help people as they're kind of prepping for a launch.
We have so many. It's a decked out, very supportive mastermind. So I coach 3 hours a week in there, which is a lot. That's very rare for a coach to do that. I coach 3 hours a week. We have a launch specific call for those who are in a launch, like things are happening right now. It's kind of like launch emergency coaching, right? Okay, I'm in a launch. I need coaching right now. We have a call just designated for that. And then we have a general call where people can ask general questions and I host those calls. If I'm not sick, laid out somewhere, or if I'm not on a plane, I'm on those calls. We calculate it with Airtable, and I attended 90% of the calls this past round. And so like I'm there. Sometimes again, if I'm sick or traveling, I have a coach there. But if it's not, it's typically me. And then that way too, I see themes. I'm like, all right, we're on our fourth launch this year within this 12-month period that you're in this mastermind. We're on the fourth launch. I have all that historical data when I'm coaching you to give you some direction. So we have our calls. We also have our feedback process. I'm such a stickler about feedback, which I'll talk about in a second, but you can submit in anything. You can submit in your curriculum. You can submit in your bonus ideas, your emails, your content, your podcast titles, your YouTube title, your webinar slides, anything in there. Resources too. We also say send things into us retroactively. If this was a launch you did 2 years ago before us and you want to bring it back in some shape or fashion, or that was a good angle, you want to try that, send everything to us. Let's give feedback on that as well. So one of the first things we do inside of the program is we say, hey, we have a launch audit document that catches everything. Like it catches everything about what happened at a launch, why you got the results that you did. So we say, hey, do a launch audit of your past launch since we're now working with you. That will help me from a baseline perspective, see what we're working with, and then we hit the ground running. So we have so much feedback, so many feedback resources. And to the point of business besties, I'm so glad you said that, because and I got in a little bit of flack for saying this, but I was in a peer mastermind that was amazing, but it was more of a processing space. It was a place for me to process. It was a place for me to vet, for me to again, just talk to people who get it. Like my husband doesn't understand, my mom doesn't understand, but these people that are in this kind of peer mastermind, they get it. But it's not a place to make business decisions. It's not a place to make sales decisions. I always say, like, would you, like, in any other context, like in a friendship, or if you worked a 9-to-5 job, would you let your friend dictate your income? No. Would you let a group chat dictate your income or dictate what you do in your 9-to-5 job? No, you go to a boss. You go to a formal mentor. Like, that's crazy, right? Like, but we do it all the time. Well, my business bestie said that I should gut this whole thing. Why would you do that? Like, why would you do that? And so I never make formal business decisions with my business friends. I don't do that. I bring it to the thing I paid for, right? Like ask me an idea, I know, but I bring it to the coach that I paid for. And so I think that's really important too. And it's kind of like a husband, in the sense where I say to my clients who are trying to quit their job and their husband is like, well, why are you trying to quit? Or why? Your friends are there to protect you. Your husband is there to protect you. They're not there and they didn't see the totality of your business. They may have seen other launches or stuff, but they haven't seen the full totality. So like they didn't know the nuances of your slides. They didn't sit through all 48 of your sales emails the way that I did, right? Like they didn't do that. And so I am so glad you said that. Like I feel like we're putting way too much on besties and personal friends when that's not the role. The role, y'all are supposed to be sending gossip.
Yeah.
See what they post on Instagram stories. Oh my God, why did they sell it like that? You're supposed to be gossiping, right? You're supposed to be going on trips. You're supposed to be bunking up in hotel rooms at conferences, gibbing and gabbing. Like that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to be like, can you look at my webinar slide? Like that's not the place. So I'm so glad you said that. But we have a ton of resources. So I talked about the feedback. I also talked about our calls, but then also you get one-on-one calls with our coaching team. And I think I have some of the best systems with Airtable for any coaching business ever. A lot of our systems are custom builds that Ashley helped us put together. And we have an amazing client dashboard system where we track every coaching call, all of the notes, all of the different things that a client submits in. And then we also have like synthesis or like summary. So there's a section that says Dielle's direction in the client dashboard where the coaching team knows where I'm trying to lead the client. So all of the coaching is cohesive. That's very, very important that my coaches are not giving conflicting information. They may add to the brainstorming or add to the idea pool, but they're not saying, oh, you should do A, but Dielle's saying Z. That never happens in the program. Everybody's headed in one direction because of our systems. So the one-on-one calls are there for processing, if you wanted to process with a professional, right? For processing, for ideating, for talking to something just more private. Maybe you don't want to post it for feedback. Maybe you don't want to get on a group call. People have processed parenting stuff. They process I know that you've gone through a lot of relationship changes, Ashley, like processing divorces or being single, processing something harmful, like a client situation that they're dealing with that they don't want anybody else to know about. So the privacy that the one-on-one calls bring are also really, really valuable. And sometimes they like them more than talking to me. Quinn is my coaching manager and she gets so much praise within my community with all my clients. They're like, when I'm out sick, they're like, oh, we got to talk to Quinn. Thank God. Like it was nice that we got to talk to her. We love her. So it's really important for me that my clients build a relationship with my coaching team. It's not just this transactional figurehead other person, but like you laugh with the team. They know you. Y'all have inside jokes. And whenever we do live events, like the hugs and the embraces, and at the end of our live event, I said, okay, let's thank the coaching team. They got a standing ovation from my community because they're that amazing. So I always just try to give them their flowers. They literally got a standing ovation. I could cry just thinking about it because they all built a relationship with those individuals, and those individuals have helped them immensely in their business. So we also have one-on-one coaching. We also do quarterly group VIP days. So once a quarter, we get together for 4 or 5 hours. I teach, I coach, we plan out the next quarter, we analyze the past quarter. It's kind of like a reset that we do every single quarter. We have that as well. And also we have done for you sales plans. So if you're ever stuck with a launch, if you're at your wit's end and you're like, I can't think of any more ideas, we have a place where you fill out a form with Airtable. And me and the coaching team, again, we know so much about you and your business. We've seen all your past launches. We'll put together 50 launch ideas for you, custom. We don't use AI. We use our brains and all of our information with you. And so people have really had great success just with those. I'm sure and the portal is decked out. Literally, I have a video on everything. Again, from how to run a live event to how to hire to launch. We have like 20 different launch trainings. They're all organized. You don't have to look at everything, but specific things on like, I keep repeating my launches. I have a training on that. Or I need to improve my webinar conversions. I have a training on that. Literally everything that got me from a full-time entrepreneur that just quit my job to $1 million business owner is in that portal. So we also have a ton of videos and trainings as well.
Yeah, I love your coaches. And that is something that I think a lot of people are worried about when they go into a mastermind and there's like this bait. They feel like they're bait and switch of like, oh, like Dielle sold me this thing, but now it's co-coaches. One, you are very, very present in that thing. Like you said, more than most. But when your coaches are there, it does feel, I've met your coaches in person at events and like truly they're excellent at what they do. And so I know some people are like, oh, if I invest in something, I want this high end one-on-one or like I want the person, which they do have, but I just want to like reiterate how incredible the coaching team is. And like I book those one-on-one calls and I think you get 2 a month and I'll book them and sometimes like, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. And then by the end, like I get there and I'm like, well, I'm sad about this thing. And one of them is like leading me through a breath work. And I was like, I didn't expect to be like breathing and crying on this call together.
Yeah.
And so it's just truly like the most supportive container that I think exists because I think it's because of your systems are able to do that for you, but also because of your vision and just being so aligned on, you're very prolific in, you see your client struggling with something and you create curriculum and resources to support them. And when you go in there, it's not like you're seeing, trainings from 2 years ago that aren't relevant anymore. You're constantly updating things. And truly, I've told my team before, I'm like, when the resign emails come, don't even show them to me, just resign. Cause I'm like, I never want to, like, cause it's a big number. And I'm like, well, do I need it? And I'm like, I always need it. Even if my brain wants to try to tell me like, maybe you don't need it this round. Maybe you've got enough of DL. I'm like,
Sure.
just keep resigning. Cause I've seen the results of the container.
I think this is a good place to circle back on like staying with one mentor and the power of that. And so it's similar to what we were saying about when you change your offer, you have to kind of start all over. I do believe when you change your coaches, you have to start all over. They
Yeah.
have to learn your patterns. They have to learn kind of like your bits, right? And like kind of like, oh, when she's nervous, she does this thing that ends up self-sabotaging her. Someone has to learn you all over again. And so that's why I'm such a big proponent of long-term coaching. All of my offers are like years long. Like I have a 12-month mastermind, I have an ongoing membership because you just get to build that rapport. And I think when people think about getting a result, they think about the template that they're going to get or the strategy that they're going to get. But I actually think it's the relationship you have with your mentor who can spot your blind spots for you. That's the real thing because you can do the template or the formula and self-sabotage it. You can do the template or the formula and not apply it to you specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think too, in our relationship, Ashley, I've been able to like point those things out to be like, hey, why are you not selling systems over stress anymore? Why are you going to templates? Didn't you make more money? Because I have that historical data.
Yep.
So, and don't get me wrong. I don't think it's going to be one coach forever, but I made $1 million with one coach that I stayed with for 4 years. I'm currently working, and that was like a business coach. I'm currently working on like my visibility mindset. And I've decided to stay with another coach, another visibility coach up until I hit 100K on Instagram and TikTok. So I'm deciding preemptively upfront to stay with her process up until I get a certain result. So a lot of my clients are like, okay, Dielle, I'm going to stay with you up until I make $1 million. And I'm like, yeah, game, let's go. I've already helped 6 people go from like 100K, 200K to $1 million already. Let's do it. I know how to do that like the back of my hand. And so I do think, again, it's not just about getting the formula and ditching. It's okay, I want to build a relationship with someone who I can trust. And we become a partner together. I don't have to like, be a yes man to them, but we become a partner together where they can know my tells, they can know my ticks, they can know where I'm self-sabotaging, and we could build a really fruitful relationship from there.
I think that's I didn't really realize it, but that is something that I feel like I've done. I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna make $1 million with DL, and like I'm locked in on this, and it's not like I'm committed to this working. I'm
Yeah.
committed to all of like my business work, and I know you're committed to me as well. And so I think
Right.
if I was like, well, let me give the container a year, and if it doesn't work out, let me find somebody else that can help me make $1 million. Like that kind of, I think it doesn't let you like really like dive in and commit to the process and like try new things. Like, I don't know about this. Like it really feels like you're a partner in my business, and I think that that is something a lot of people are looking for. They're looking for a mentor that really sees them, and it's not just going through a curriculum. And like I just can't express to people how good of a coach you are and how good this container is. And like I said, I would never tell people to invest this much if I didn't like full force behind it. Be like, this probably is the coach and container for you. I'm curious because we're talking about relationships and my people are nosy. I want to know 2 things, and feel free, you can be as honest as you want, but what is the things that you've seen in me that you're like, oh, these are like, this is why you've gotten the results?
Mm.
And what is the thing that you're like, this is the thing that if you got over this, your results could 10x?
So good. Oh my God. Where do I begin? And a good like, where do I begin? You're a great action taker. You're a great action taker. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I love coaching clients where I say, okay, based off of information, based off of your style, based off of what I've seen and heard from you, I think this should be the webinar title. And let's play up this bonus and play up this angle. And then you're like, that makes sense. Done. Versus, I've coached maybe, 300 people at the multiple six-figure level. I've coached over 1,000 people in my career fundamentally, but specifically with this income level. And it could be scary to just listen to a coach blindly. And I know that you and I have talked about this too. And so when that rapport is established, because I do believe I have to earn it, right? I'm not just saying on day one, I say jump, you say how high. I don't think that's how it works. I do believe I have to earn your trust, right? And I do a lot of rapport building when I first get a client in those first 90 days, explaining myself, sharing how I got somewhere, not saying that I just picked it up out of my butt, right? Like being very clear on how did I get to a direction. And I think you're a great action taker, and I think we have that, right? So I think that's number one. Number two, you self-coach, and then you'll bring your self-coaching to me. I've been like on a little bit of a kick of this recently and what that means is, for anybody who doesn't know, self-coaching is a mindset tool that we teach inside of the mastermind. And basically it's a process where you're just, number one, just aware of your limiting beliefs. So sometimes I think about it, it's like sometimes you get the urge for ice cream. And if you're not aware of your urges or your limiting beliefs, you'll go rob the nearest Ben and Jerry's at 2 a.m. because you just have the urge for ice cream, right? Like that's you being unaware, versus if you're aware of your mindset, you're like, okay, I want ice cream. Okay. And then you just have the urge and you don't take an action on it. And so then you can bring that urge to a coach. I have the urge to burn my business down. I have the urge to get rid of an offer. I have the urge to not sell it in this particular angle, even though I think it'll be successful. I'm scared to do it because of X, Y, and Z. And so just your ability to pause and stop is massive. To that point, it could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars if we just, I have a limiting belief. Let's pause, let's stop, and let's bring that to a coach. I would say that. I would say as well, you have a great like online personality. You're very personable and warm in your content, but you're also an expert and authority, and you have a great way of breaking down Airtable, how you've been able to make so much money selling Airtable. So I also think you're a great practitioner, right? I think you're a great practitioner. And I've coached some people that don't know how to be a great practitioner. And then we're kind of running in circles because if they don't solve that, it'll be harder to do everything else. And so we also, Ashley and I focus on this a lot. We do coach consultation inside of the mastermind. So if you are having client results problems in any capacity, again, we'll look at curriculums, we'll look at coaching styles. It's very normal for somebody to come on a coaching call to be like, hey, I'm having an issue with my client DL. Can you walk me through this? And then I'll give them coach consultation. So that's fine. You don't have to be perfect, but you're naturally a great practitioner, Ashley. I say you're a great writer. You're a great copywriter too. You're a fantastic writer. I know you worked a lot with Kirsten Roldan for emails. You're a great, great writer as well. I think I've given you that feedback before. There's some thorns in your side that could potentially stop you is I do think you've been an offer abandoner. You've abandoned the offer, which you talked about a lot. Is like, I forgot that you stopped selling systems over stress. I knew that you were thinking about closing it down on our sales call, but I forgot you stopped selling it altogether. And so you stopped selling systems over stress twice now, right? Like that's significant. That was some money left on the table, right? That's pretty significant. So you are an offer abandoner, but I think you've kind of like got that out of your system now. I think now you love your offer, which is like such a great place to be. And when you love your offer, you make so much money when you like it. So often abandoner is something I still got. I'm like, okay, is she about to, kind of like my dog. I dropped my dog off recently at daycare and she wasn't on her leash. And she kind of like looked up at me and she realized she wasn't on it. And it's this moment where you look at your dog and you're like, don't you dare take off. Like, don't you dare. You can see her thinking, she's like, should I take off? I know she can't. So sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm looking at, I'm like, is she about to take off? Is Ashley about to be a goner? Like I got to keep an eye on. So sometimes I have to be on to you there. Right. And so I would say that's number one. Number two, again, double-edged sword about your clients and caring about your clients. And specifically taking feedback, right? And there's things, as you can tell, like there's themes to this to be like, okay, I'm always going to have a soft spot for money problems. I'm always going to have a soft spot for, I always have like, I struggle like live selling on a webinar or a sales call. For you, it's definitely your client. And I get it with Airtable with like a build not working 100%, maybe like the client envisioned or you envision and having to work it out multiple times. And just so giving the expectation to the client, but also you've been brilliant with giving so many workarounds and so many solutions and fixing those things. Like hundreds, and I don't think you give yourself enough credit. Like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have Airtable, and it works because of you and your intellect and your intellectual property. So just giving yourself more credit as like a thought leader in the system space. Like I just don't think you do that enough. Um, to that point, I also think you have other skill sets that I don't think you fully have explored. I won't put them all out here. I don't want to, put a bug in any.
No. I'm
You get a whole
curious.
bunch of DMs being like, "Oh, Ashley should do that. Ashley should do that." Because I've been telling Ashley she should have a second offer and several different ideas for second offers, and they've been like, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm like, okay, we're going to need a second offer eventually. Like, we're going to need something else eventually. Right. And so, just like your confidence to be like, I know Airtable is your comfort zone. It's your expertise. And we can have another comfort zone. We can have another expertise and your ability to trust yourself to do that too. And so, yes, that's what I think. You're also a great launcher. I love how you launch, especially on Threads. I always say, yeah, I can't do that. Like, and that's also one of the things that I say all the time in the mastermind. I'm like, hey, that's all you. Like, I used to get a lot, and this is the last thing I'll say, then I'll take it, I'll give it back over to you. Something that when I first started the mastermind, I would get a few DMs and questions from clients. They're like, you don't give you don't take a lot of credit for my success. Why? Because they would tag me on social media. They would do all these things and be like, DL helped me so much. DL changed my life. DL is the amazing. Da, 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 da. And my go-to, and every time I this is like my phrase, and my clients make fun of me for saying it, but I always say it's all you. Like it's all you. I don't like you'll never see me like fighting to claim somebody else's success. I was actually talking, I had a situation happen earlier this year where another a client was working with me and another coach, and this other coach was like trying to claim her on social and be like, it was me, I helped this client. And the client was like, oh my gosh, like DL, like, do you want to defend yourself? I'm like, oh no, she can have you. Like it's fine. It's not I'm not interested in that. I don't need the public clout. I know the work that I do with my clients. And also, you all are brilliant in your own right. You all try so many creative ideas on your own. How you launch on Threads, I think, is a course in a product within itself. Like I don't sell on Threads at all. Just like how amazing that your creativity on Threads is. It's just, I love it. I absolutely love it. So many things, bro.
Yeah.
Some things that you excel at and some things you need to work on.
Yeah, thank you for. I'm gonna talk to you afterwards and talk about those other ideas because I literally have blocked them out. I don't remember what they were.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
certification.
I was about to say, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's coming. Yeah.
So also business coaching for other service providers. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yep. Yes, I've been thinking about those things. I just want to just circle, like just ground it and like imagine having a business coach who knows all these things about you. And like, I'm not a special snowflake in it's like, you don't have like favoritism with your clients.
No. Yeah.
And like, you're like this with everybody. And like, I think that if people are like really wanting this type of relationship, I invested in this, but you've invested back into me. And I know you don't take, I might get emotional. Like you don't take, like you do say like, it's all you, but like, there's so much of my business that like I know I would have gotten stuck if I didn't have you. And like just it's very quiet. People see all of my success on Threads, on Instagram. They see I had a 6-figure launch, but they don't know like the work and the tears and like the trenches I have with you and your team. And I could not have the success that I had on my own with business besties, with an OBM, like even with all of that support, I couldn't have that if I didn't have you and everything scaling. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say that. I know you're always like, it's all you, but it's also because of the container that you've created and the coach that you are.
And I always say, like, you all make it easy, like having fantastic clients that are willing to go there with us, right? Yeah. And are willing to trust us and to be open with us. I've said this a few times, but you'll be surprised at how many times I'm lied to, right? Where a client, and I get it, it's a vulnerable place being coached, but a client will lie, they'll flub up numbers. the truth always comes out, because then I'll coach on those false numbers or that false information, and then it's worse, right? It's way worse than what it originally was. And then I'm like, oh, these numbers you gave me weren't true. So I also say, like, it's because I have clients, the majority of my clients are open and vulnerable, and they want that deep transformation. Again, they want more than just the template. They want the partnership. They want the relationship. They want to change their identity and how they view about themselves. They don't want to be scared over certain things that they're afraid of. Like, they're like, clean me up. I want to be transformed. I want to be a different person after working with UDL. So that's all. That also makes our job easier.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. When I've talked to some people before where they will be in my box and like, I'm thinking about working with DL, but I know I definitely would never want to do this. Like, I'll never do this. And I'm like, it doesn't seem like you're that coachable. Like, if you don't want, I'm like, you should hop on a sales call with her anyways. But like, just know she's going to push you on those things that you say, like, I'll never do this. I'll never do a live launch, or I'll never do like, all like, it's just that is that black and white thinking. And I think the best way to come to a coaching container is to be open. I do want to share, we talked about all of like the things that are inside of the container and all of the resources and support, but I also want to share transparently with everybody is like, I've ghosted DL for like 6 months at a time because of mindset stuff I was going through. I had a coach that told me I had too many coaches and not to listen to my other coaches. And so I shut everything out. I logged out of everything scaling. I like muted you on Instagram. I was like, I can't listen to anybody. And that was probably the worst revenue months of my business. But I think it was what honestly happened, and I would love for you to talk about this because we've talked about it before, is I felt this deep sense of like, I have given all of my self-trust away to DL. I don't trust myself. I only trust DL. And I was looking for permission from you. And you were not doing that to me, but that is like that's how it happened. And I remember not coming back, but like the reason I actually came back was because you had a bonus. It was like a week of Voxer and it expires in December. I was like, well, like, let me just go ahead and use that. And so I hadn't talked to you for 6 months and I was like, hey, DL, business is going great. Like you said, of like the lying to you. I was like, business is going great. I shut down systems over stress. That's such the right decision. I opened up a template shop. The template shop has made 10K and it's like, it's going really well. And you coached me during that time. You're like, well, let's run the numbers, kind of some of the things we were talking about. But I would love for you to talk about the concept of self-trust when it comes to a business coach and people feeling that permission versus agency and all of those things.
Can you finish the story though? And then I'll share the context.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so the story goes, I shut down systems over stress because I was overwhelmed with it. And I was worried people are mad at me. That's my biggest mindset limiting belief, is if my clients are mad at me, everybody hates me. That's what I believe all the time, which fucks up my selling. It fucks up my, like my offers. It's my biggest thing I need to get over. So I shut down that and I did the templates, and there was a lot of numbers, but it was a lower ticket offer. And you very neutrally said, hey, it's interesting that you say the template shop is going well, because wasn't your last launch, because you remember, didn't you have like a 70K launch in a week, and you've made 10K in 3 months from this thing? And just that like neutral clarity of like, oh, I have made a mistake. I tried something and you really helped me. You coached me through like, now that template shop still exists, but SOS is back, and it actually like it supports it. It's part of the ecosystem now. So it wasn't throwing the baby out with the bathwater that time. And you were like, you don't have to get rid of the templates, but why the hell did you get rid of SOS too at the same time? And just giving me that, like, that coaching of like, why did you do that? What was like the trauma you were going through? Like, how can we fix things? How can we like heal all of this so you can bring back the thing that makes you money? And so I did. And, then we had the 82K launch and the 130K launch. So over $200,000 of an offer that I threw away last year that you told me to bring back.
I think this is so important. And this happens. We kind of coin it I hate DL era. And it happens for lots of different reasons. Here's what I've chalked it up to. Again, it's transformation work. Like, I'm in the business of transformation work.
Yeah.
I proxy of sales and money, whoop-de-doo. But it is transformation work, and that can get taxing, and that can get heavy. And it requires a certain level of capacity. I'm going to talk about what I think maybe we could have done to still honor how you were feeling, but also still support you. And what I've done with so many of my other clients too. But this idea of self-trust and agency, this conversation has like boomed over the past like year and a half. Where we hire a coach, we like that coach, we vibe with the coach, we get success with the coach. And then this is also why I'm so particular. Then we think the reason why we're successful 100% is because of the coach. And then we feel like we're abdicating to the coach. But then also similar to what I said earlier too about the offers, we're seeing all these different business models. I'm like, well, why do I have to follow this one way that my coach is telling it? And I'm seeing all these different ways. And then the way that my coach is also telling it maybe might be hurting me. She's telling me to do live launches, but I haven't figured out how to make them sustainable. Or she's telling me I have a group program, but I'm having customer service issues. I don't know if she's as good as she says she is. Let me explore. Maybe I'm giving too much to this person, so that it goes down that pipeline, right? And so here's what I say in return. A few things. Number one, all of my coaching and all of our ideas come from you. So if I say that I think you should do a webinar, it's because of a data point that already exists within your business. It's not a blanket, random, pulled out of my butt reason. It's because of a data point from you. I don't give the same coaching to every person. You will often find me saying on my coaching calls, hey, I'm going to break some of my own rules for a second. And I'm going to tell you to do this. I typically wouldn't, but I'm going to tell you to. That happens about once a week on one of my 3-hour calls where I tell it to a client. So it's definitely not one size fits all. And if I do say something, I mean it. And there's a reason and data and historical information backed up behind that. And so the example that I often share is clients will act like I'm telling them to be a ballerina. And so, or I'm telling them to be an astronaut. I'm like, you're a health coach. You're acting like I'm telling you to abandon everything and become an astronaut and go to Mars. I'm not telling you to do that. And something else I said to a client too was business coaching is only 10%. I tell you to do a webinar. Great. I give you a webinar slide deck framework. Great. We have to still come up with what's in the slide. You have to get your people, your audience to come to said webinar. We have to then figure out a bonus for that. All the niche of it, the angle of it, the direction of it, all of that is you. All of that is you. It's not my niche. It's not my business. You all, especially in the mastermind, you all already come in with established businesses. We're just zhuzhing them up. Zhuzhing them up comes to the tune of a 6-figure launch. Don't get me wrong. Like our frameworks work, but everybody's business in the mastermind is drastically different and very customized. And so I say like, hey, I'm not telling you to be a ballerina. I'm not telling you to be an astronaut. I'm using a data point from what you've shared with me. And then the last thing I always tell my clients is if you don't want feedback on something, don't ask for coaching on it. If you plan on making a certain decision, if you're like, I only want to launch for 1 week, Dielle recommends 2, but I'm only doing 1. Great. We don't have to get in a fight about that, right? Or you don't have to get me to approve with you or whatever. Like what if it's just not up for discussion? That's okay. Again, you only have, a call with me a week. Think about what do you want my advice on? What do you want help on? Again, the majority of the decisions are up to you anyways. Like, it's not like, Ashley said, DL, I think I'm not going to do a lot of reels and instead I'm going to do threads. She just went ahead and did it, right? Like she didn't have to get my permission to do that. She just went ahead and did it. So I always say, if you don't want feedback on something, just don't ask, right? Don't ask. And similar, but you didn't ask, right? Like you just kind of like went on your own way. And I saw you and the coaching team was a little concerned. And I said, let her have her space. She'll come when she's ready. Let her have her space. So we check in with you all, but like if you're in a season, if you're in an era, and if it's a no, and if you need space, that's also why it's 12 months. You get to come and go as you please. Now, here's what I would have loved is if we get to do experiments. I often do experiments with my clients where you would say, hey, I'm feeling just a little emotionally drained from SOS for a myriad of reasons. I don't want to, I know I have a launch schedule in too much. I think I'm going to pause it. And I just want to test out a template shop for 90 days. Great. Let's try that. Awesome. Let's do an experiment. If you're like, hey, I'm really burnt out with this, I don't want to do a webinar for that. Can I just do my what? Can we test putting up the replay from my last webinar and seeing how that performs? Great. Let's do that. I'm all about testing it, getting the historical data, and then making decisions from there.
Yeah. I think that's helpful too for people to hear this when they're seeing your content. And because like you are known for, so you're not necessarily rigid, but you're known for a framework and you're known for these launches. And in the back end of everything scaling, it is much more collaborative and much more. And I think that is something that I think at that time I didn't really embody or feel. Like I think I was like, well, I know Dielle's going to tell me no, and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear a no right now. And so like I'm going to go do my own thing. And I think that is something that I've really softened on. And I'm now like, Dielle is not the dictator or boss of my business. She is a thought partner. And like you said earlier, is that you help your clients make decisions. And like, I think that like you have helped me make decisions much faster. During the launch, I actually have a launch debrief that I'll link, but I literally went through my launch debrief and I went through the start of our Voxer chat because I got that as like an alumni bonus. And I went through and I was like, here's the first time I told Dielle I was thinking about a launch. And I scrolled through until the end of the cart close. I was like, here's all of the decisions we made. You can see I was ruminating on a painful bonus at 8 a.m. And then she told me something at noon. And then by 2, I had made the decision and moved on. And that ability to make decisions like that, I now understand like the power of that. And like that's what this container is for and helps me with. Instead of this like feeling of like, is Dielle gonna steer me down the wrong path? Like I am the person going down the path. She can like help me, but there's no, that's felt really freeing.
Can I say something about like, I have strong philosophies and frameworks?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing, y'all. You paid me 15 grand. I hope I have a framework to teach you, right? Like I hope it's not an empty portal called DIY after you paid 15 grand. That reconciling is always very interesting to me. I'm like, I would rather be a over frameworked coach where if you needed it, it's there, but then we customize it to you versus the latter. You paid me 15 grand and you're like, okay, so what's my plan? I'm like, right? Yeah. Like, and so I hope if you pay a coach 15 grand, there's something in a portal for you. Like there's some sort of philosophy or framework for you that you can kind of use to wet your whistle. And then it could be more collaborative for there. I want you to like, my goal always is for a client to join us, open up the portal and see a lot of reasons, be like, here's my 15K worth. Fantastic. Not that they have to do everything.
So you have a launch coming up, or if you're watching this and the launch is passed, maybe you're like, when and how should people like be ready to invest with you? And like, do you work with service providers as well, or is it just coaches?
I work with service providers who have a coaching program in addition to their done for you business.
Yes. Cool. Great. Yeah. So if you have a coaching element in your business, there's no better mastermind than Everything Scaling. I think this is something else I want to add. Everybody is also looking for in-person events right now. What conferences are you going to? Not only do you have all of this stuff, but you also have an in-person element. Can you share about that? And then also share like how people can like, if you're looking for XYZ in 2026, like apply to join Everything Scaling.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Ashley, for having me here. This was great. I would love to even put this on my own podcast. I think it would be so helpful for people. Yeah. And so you can go to forthe23percent.com/mastermind to get all the details. We have a very long sales page explaining everything that's inside of the program. Also, we are doing a free series on January 19th, a 5-day series where you could talk to me before we go on a sales call, before you even join, in a very casual setting where I'm talking about how to scale to 250, 500K and $1 million in 2026 and all of the industry changes that you need to keep in mind if you want to scale your business. So you can go to forthe23percent.com/series to sign up for that. And so, yes. And also DM me, send me a voice message. We can start talking and you could start introduce yourself and we can start talking to see if the mastermind is a good fit for you there. 9 times out of 10, because it's who I am, I'll probably give you a strategy or two before you even pay me a dime because that's just who I am. And I would love to see how I can help you. You can message me on Instagram at forthe23%. I run that account. It's all me there.
Yeah. So if you're looking at that 250, 500 or million mark, absolutely do it all. Work with Dielle, sign up. Even your like free trainings, your summits, all those things. I go as a paying client. I
Yeah.
want to do some quick math of the launches that I've had. 61 plus 71
While
plus
you're
80.
adding that up, I'll also talk about our live events. So I also do a conference it's called Millionaires of Color. Again, white women are able to come, but it's called Millionaires of Color. That's happening in April in Miami. And then for this round only of the Mastermind, we're also going to do a retreat in Cancun in November. So lots of live events you can come. And I love coaching in person. Like I absolutely love it. I'm on fire. I'm electric. Like I love coaching in person and being in community in person.
And honestly, 15 grand, when you break it down, I think you've done this before. You're like the cost of like a therapy per hour versus like the value of all of this stuff. You would be piecemealing together that end of your conference or consulting calls or like all of those things that you like a webinar, a course, like all of those things you would probably piecemeal together if you're really looking to get to that 250, 500, a million mark. Like you do need support and like you're just paying for it all in one cohesive container instead of piecemealing it all together. So that's a way to kind of neutralize it if you've never really invested that much money at one time. So with my launches that I've done with you, 6 launches, I've made $410,000 in just my launches alone. So that's not the evergreen, that's not everything else. And I probably would have launched if I wasn't in your containers. We can't know exactly, but I'd say probably maybe I could have made 200K on my own in my launches. Like there's no way I could have got to 410, and 200K is like ambitious with all of the mindset stuff and just like the spiraling. And I honestly, I wouldn't even have the offer that got me the 200K in this year if it wasn't for you. And so, yeah, I've made 410K in my launches over the last 2 years and inside of everything scaling. And I cannot wait to have $1 million year with you, to continue to have 6-figure launches and have your support on my side. So thank you so much for being here. If anybody has any questions, like you said, you can go to For the 23% on Instagram, or you can DM me directly, especially when you're making these types of investments. That's why I want to do this call. I get a lot of people that are like, hey man, is she as good as she says she is on Instagram? Because like, is it as good as she says? Because this is a lot. And I'm always 100% yes. So thank you for being here.
One more thing about that. So we will either help you make your investment back at a baseline. Again, a lot of that do that first 2 weeks in the program as a baseline. Because again, we have a 50K requirement. You got to know how to make some money beforehand. So I always say, if you have made $50,000, you know how to make 15. Even if you don't listen to it, thing I said, you will make 15K just by doing your own free will, right? Just by making that back. Number one. Number two, for the off chance that you don't make that back, we will put you in our lower level program, our foundational program for free. So we will coach you for free. We'll put you in that program to help you make your 15K back. And so we have, again, I've coached with about 300 people in this program. We've had to do that for one person. And it's because she decided to go back to a 9-to-5 job and we didn't coach her for 9 months, but we still honored our word and we still put her in that lower level program. But everyone outside of one person has made their 15K back. And so that's what I want to say about the investment. And again, if you break it down per month, it's very comparable to exactly what you said, Ashley, what you'll have to pay for a consultant, what you'll have to pay for intensives and one-off sessions and webinar reviews and live event tickets and all of that. You'll end up paying 15K, but it's going to be a hodgepodge of a lot of different strategies. And then it also will have that Dielle Charon splash as well. And so, yeah, thank you, Ashley, for having me on. This was great.
Of course. Yes. Awesome. We'll talk to everybody soon, and good luck with everything. All right, that's it for this episode. I wanted to share this conversation because I know so many of you are in that place where you're questioning an offer, second guessing a decision, or wondering whether sticking with someone long-term or investing in a mastermind and a business coach is the right move. I really hope that this sheds some light on the power and like the speed at which you can move in your business when you hire the right business coach. Working with Dielle taught me to think about my business in a completely different way, not just how to sell, but how to stay with an idea, how to refine instead of restart, and how to build something that actually compounds over time. If you are curious about Dielle's mastermind, Everything Scaling, I've linked the details below. I'm a proud affiliate, but more importantly, I'm a real and proud client. And this conversation is exactly what my experience inside of that container has been like. So if you want to go deeper into launch that we referenced as well, including the real-time coaching support that helped me navigate it, you can grab that full 130K launch debrief that's also linked in the description. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to drop a comment below and let me know what stood out. And if you are in a session of rebuilding, recommitting, or deciding what's actually worth sticking with, I hope this gave you a little bit of clarity. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and I will see you in the next video.